For the first time in 300 years, the alien dragon speaks. His voice is dry, broken, almost dust. "Human girl," he whispers, "please. Water." The girl's hands shake around a small metal bottle. It is light, only half full. This is all the water she and her family have for today. If she gives it to him, they may have nothing to drink tonight. If she refuses, she does not know what a desperate dragon will do. The dragon's huge eyes glow in the dark cave, full of pain and something else. Not hate, not rage, fear. He has burned worlds. He has swallowed ships. Armies once ran from his shadow. Now he kneels in front of one small human child, begging. Nobody ever told her that one drop of water could decide the fate of a planet. Her name is Laya. Laya stands on rough stone. Her boots scratch the dust. The air in the cave is so dry that every breath hurts. The cave feels like a furnace. Even standing near the dragon makes her skin feel like it is cracking. She stares at the bottle. The thin line of water shines against the metal. She thinks of her sick mother, her little brother, the long line at the ration station. She feels her own dry throat. "Why should I give it to you?" Her voice sounds very small under the high stone roof. The dragon lowers his head. Chains around his neck and legs groan and click. Metal rings on his body glow, a weak blue, pulling heat and moisture from his scales. "I have waited centuries," he says. "I have watched your people walk above my prison. I did not call to them. I did not beg. I thought I could endure. But now," he closes his eyes. "Now even a dragon can feel the end." Laya takes a step back. She wants to run, but her feet stay in place. She wants to scream, but no sound comes. She sees her mother's cracked lips. She sees her brother pretending he is not thirsty, so she can drink more. "There is no extra water," she says. "The colony is thirsty too. The wells are almost dry. We fight over every cup." "I know," the dragon answers softly. "I hear your leaders argue and pretend they have control. I hear pipes rattle as the last drops move through them. I hear children cry when they think no one is awake." He moves one claw a little. Dust falls from it in a thin gray stream. "Your world is dying slowly," he says. "I am dying slowly with it." Lea did not expect a voice like this. In her stories, dragons roar with fire and promise death. This one sounds tired and old, like a man who has walked too far with no rest. "Nobody told us you were down here," she says. "Nobody told us there was a dragon under the desert. We do not know," the dragon replies. To them, this place is a grave of old machines. They do not see the chains. They do not feel every grain of water pulled from their air and locked around my bones. His eyes glow a little brighter. "But you felt me," he says. "In your sleep?" A whisper. A call. Laya nods. For weeks she has had strange dreams. A dry wind, a dark cave, two lights like suns. She woke up thirsty and afraid, but also curious. When she heard miners talk about an old alien ruin in the desert, she knew at once it was the place from her sleep. "I followed the feeling," she says. "I thought maybe there was a hidden well, a spring that could help my mother." "Perhaps there is," the dragon says. She frowns. "Where?" "In my memory," he says. "In my power. Once I knew where rivers walked under the skin of worlds. I called clouds into empty sky. I drank oceans and left them whole again." Looks at the glowing rings. "But these chains are made from thirst. They steal every drop I touch. I cannot help you while I am bound." Laya studies the black rings sunk into the rock. Cables run from them into silent machines covered in blue symbols. The light from them paints her hands a cold color. "How long have you been here?" she asks. "Longer than your people have lived on this world," he says. 3 human centuries since I last tasted water." Leah's only 12. 300 years feels like forever. "And if I don't give you water?" she asks. "Then I will fade," he says. "Your colony will last a little longer. Then the wells will fail. The ships above will leave. Your people will have nowhere to run." He says it in a calm voice. Not a threat. Just truth. Leah hugs the bottle close. Why would a dragon help humans? Why would an ancient killer beg? As if he hears her thoughts, he lowers his head. His nose is almost level with her knees now. His eyes fill her whole world. "I am not asking for worship," he says quietly. "Only for a drink." Lia's hand shakes. She imagines her family's faces when they see less water. She imagines the officer at the ration station shouting. She imagines her mother's cough growing worse. She also imagines something else. White clouds in a blue sky. And cool drops falling on her skin. "Can you really save us?" she whispers. The dragon does not promise. He simply says, "I can try. And I can do nothing without that water." For a long moment, nobody moves. Then, very slowly, Lia starts to lift the bottle, to understand how she reached this moment. The story must go back to the last sunrise above the desert. Asterisk, the sun climbed over the broken desert like a weak, tired fire that same morning before Lia ever saw the dragon. She stood in the water line with her little brother. The line curled across the metal yard of the colony. People hugged empty bottles and stared at the ration pump with dry, angry eyes. Lia held their bottle tight against her chest. Tori, only 7, clung to her sleeve and tried not to cry. "I'm thirsty," he whispered. His voice sounded thin in the hot air. "We'll get our water," Lia said. She hoped it was true. A loudspeaker crackled above them. "Attention, all citizens," a flat voice said. "Because of low reserves, today's water rations are reduced again. Please remain calm and follow instructions." The crowd did not stay calm. "You said that yesterday." Someone shouted. "My baby is sick," another voice cried. "We can't live on less." Metal cups hit railings. A man kicked the side of the pump. Security drones dropped lower and flashed red warning lights over the restless line. Lia pulled Tori close. Her father had died in a water riot like this. One broken pipe, one wave of panic, and he was crushed under wild feet. She had been 9. The memory still made her stomach turn. Behind her, a woman muttered that one day the wells would dry and the people in the ships above would fly away and leave the colony to rot. Lia stared at the ground. The words slid into her mind and stayed there, at the front of the line. The officer shouted, "1 bottle per family, no extra." Next, slowly, step by step, the line moved forward. Heat pressed down on them like a heavy hand. When it was finally Lia's turn, she pushed their empty bottle onto the metal stand. "Family name?" the officer asked without looking up from his screen. "Ran," she said. "My mother is sick. Could we please have a little extra?" "1 bottle," he cut in. "You know the rule? She needs more?" Lia tried again. "The medic said so." "The medic says that to everyone," the officer snapped. He did not sound cruel, only tired. "1 bottle. You want extra? Talk to the council." Next. The pump hissed and gave a short, weak stream. Their bottle did not even fill to the marked line. Lia grabbed it and stepped aside before anyone could complain. Tori hurried after her, trying to match her longer steps. "Is that all?" he asked, staring at the low water level. "That's all," she said. They walked back through narrow metal halls. Pipes rattled overhead with almost no sound of flow. Posters on the walls showed blue rivers from other worlds that Tori would never see. Their room was small and hot. Their mother lay on a narrow bed, her skin gray and lips cracked. But she smiled when she saw them. "You made it," she whispered. Lia sat beside her and lifted the bottle. "We have to share carefully," she said. She poured a little into a metal cup and held it to her mother's mouth. Her mother drank, coughed, then sighed softly. "That's enough for me," her mother said. "Give the rest to you too." Lia could see it was not enough. Her mother's hands still shook and her eyes looked dull. Tori drank next, taking tiny sips. Lia waited until last. The water was warm and tasted of metal. But to her it was sweeter than anything. When the bottle was almost empty, she stopped pouring. "We need to save some," she said. "For tomorrow?" Tori asked. "For later," Lia answered, though she did not know what later meant. That night, when the colony lights dimmed, Lia lay awake. The low hum of machines filled the dark. Somewhere, thin threads of water crawled through tired pipes. She closed her eyes and saw it again. A dark cave, stone like dry bone, two huge eyes glowing in endless black. A whisper moved through her thoughts like wind, water. Lia sat up, heart racing. This was not only a dream. There was a pull under her ribs, a soft, steady tug from deep under the desert, as if something far below had hooked a line into her chest. "What are you?" She whispered into the dark room. No answer came, but the pull stayed. She crossed to the small table. The bottle stood there with a thin circle of water in the bottom. It caught the faint light and shone like a tiny coin. Her mother needed more. Tori needed more. Everyone in the colony needed more. But the wells were failing. The ships above watched and did nothing. Lia picked up the bottle and felt its small weight. Somewhere under the sand, something thirsty was calling her. Before the next sunrise, she knew she would finally answer it. The next sunrise came weak over the colony roofs, but Lia was already awake. She sat on the edge of the narrow bed, watching her mother breathe in short, rough gasps. Tori slept curled beside her, one hand on their mother's sleeve. Lia's chest hurt when she looked at them. "I'll bring something back," she whispered. "I promise." On the small table, the metal bottle waited with a thin line of water at the bottom. She picked it up and felt the weak slosh. For 3 people on a burning world, it was almost nothing. She closed her eyes and listened, not with her ears, but with that strange sense from her dreams. Beneath the metal floors, below the sand and rock, she felt it again, a soft pull on her chest, like a rope tied deep underground. It tugged without words, but she knew what it wanted. In sleep, she had seen dark stone, blue lines of light, and eyes like suns. Now, the same presence waited, patient and steady. Lia slipped on her worn boots and pulled her patched sun hood over her hair. She took one last look at her family. "Sleep a little longer," she whispered. "Don't wake up yet. Don't be thirsty yet." Then she opened the door and stepped into the dim hallway. The corridor lights were low to save power. Most people still slept. Lia moved quietly, the bottle hidden under her cloak. While tired pipes hummed weakly above her head, she crossed the empty ration yard. The pump stood alone in the middle like a dead tree. Yesterday's footprints twisted in the dust on the metal floor. Near the outer gate, a security drone floated on silent fans, its red eye half bright. Lia pressed into the shadow of a crate and held her breath until it drifted away. When it was gone, she ran toward the tall fence at the colony's edge, where warning signs rattled in the breeze. Near the far corner, behind broken containers, the mesh sagged where someone had cut it long ago. The repair was thin and careless. The wires bent outward just enough for a small body to squeeze through. Lia dropped to her knees and crawled under. Rough wires scratched her cloak and pulled at her hair, but she pushed forward until she slid out on the other side. Then she stood up and faced the open desert alone for the first time. Outside the fence, the world was a flat sea of rock and thin sand. The sun was still low, but the light already stabbed at her eyes and the air felt thick in her lungs. For a moment, fear almost drove her back. Inside there were walls and people. Out here there was nothing. Then the pull came again from deep below, stronger without metal in the way. Lia took a scratching breath and stepped forward. She could taste fear and dust. She walked. At first the morning wind was dry but gentle. She followed old survey poles leaning at odd angles, their paint almost gone. As the sun climbed, the wind grew hotter. Sand bit at her ankles and sweat vanished from her skin. Her tongue felt thick. She lifted the bottle once, thought of a tiny sip, then forced her hand down again. "This is not for me," she told herself. Not yet. By midday, dark shapes rose on the horizon. Black pylons, metal towers forced out of the ground in a wide ring. The air around them felt even drier. "Almost there," Lia whispered. She stepped between them. Inside the ring, the ground was broken into sharp plates crossed by faint blue lines. The pull in her chest turned heavy like a stone. Here, it seemed to say. She took one more step. The ground shattered and dropped away. There was no time to shout. Leia fell through dust and broken rock into sudden darkness. For a few wild moments, she tumbled, grabbing at empty air. Then she hit a sloping surface, slid, and rolled to a stop on cold stone. Silence followed. Tiny chips rattled around her hood. She lay still, then slowly moved her arms and legs. They hurt, but they worked. Above her, the hole was a small circle of sky. She saw the bottle nearby and crawled to it. Somehow, it had stayed closed. Relief washed through her as she picked it up and felt the water still move inside. Thin blue lines of light ran through the stone. When she touched one, it brightened and lit a tunnel ahead. The pull tugged again from that darkness. "I came this far," Leia whispered, and followed the glow. The tunnel curved downward into a vast chamber, where chains scraped and two eyes flared bright in the dark. The tunnel curved downward into a vast chamber, where chains scraped and two eyes flared bright in the dark. Leia stopped moving. Her breath caught in her throat. For a moment she thought she was staring at two small suns trapped under the world. Then the eyes blinked, and the shadows around them pulled back. The dragon lay coiled in the middle of the chamber. His long body filled the stone floor like a fallen tower. Dull, cracked scales covered him from nose to tail. Great wings folded tight along his sides, heavy and still. Thick, black chains wrapped his neck, chest, legs, and tail. Strange blue symbols crawled along the metal and across the floor like slow, tired light. The air felt dead and thin. It was even drier here than in the desert above. Heat rolled from his body, but it was not a living warmth. It felt like the heat of rock that had been baked for 100 years. Leia's mouth went even drier. Her tongue felt thick and useless. The dragon's eyes stayed on her. He did not blink. He did not hiss. He simply watched. Leia felt very, very small. She thought of the tiny ration bottle back in their room. She saw her mother's shaking hands holding the cup. She heard Tori whisper, "I'm thirsty," in the dark. Every part of her wanted to turn and run back up the tunnel. Instead, she took one careful step forward. Chains scraped. The dragon lowered his head just a little. The blue lines in the floor brightened around her boots, as if the stone itself had noticed her. Then a voice spoke. It did not come from the air. It did not echo off the walls. It was inside her head. So it said, slow and deep, "You finally followed." Leia gasped. She looked at the dragon's mouth. It was still closed. "You can talk," she whispered. "I can think," the voice answered. "My throat is dust. There is no water left in it for sound. So I speak this way." Leia's heart beat so hard that her chest hurt. Her hands shook around, the small bottle hidden under her cloak. "Were you the one in my dreams?" she asked, calling me. "Showing me this place?" "Yes," the dragon said. "I touched the edge of your sleep. Many minds turned away. Yours did not." "I'm not important," Leia said quickly. "I am just a girl from the lower levels. I have nothing. I can't help anyone." "You are thirsty," the dragon replied. "And you refuse to pretend that this is enough." His eyes narrowed slightly. "I heard you in the water line," he went on. "I heard you beside your mother's bed. You asked the dark for more than a mouthful of life." "So the dark answered." Leia's face grew hot. The idea that this huge creature had listened to her private words made her feel exposed. She folded her arms in front of her chest. "If you know everything," she said, "then you know why I came. Our wells are dying. The pumps give less every day. I hoped there was a hidden spring under the desert. A real one. Enough to save my family. Maybe the colony." "There is no spring here," the dragon said. "This place was built to keep water away. Every drop that comes near is stolen. Every bit of moisture is pulled from the air and locked into the stone." Leia looked at the smooth floor and the shining chains. Hope slipped out of her like air from a broken pipe. "So I walked all this way for nothing," she said quietly. "Not for nothing," the dragon replied. "You came to see the hand that is choking your world." He moved one claw a little. The chains around it shuddered and flashed brighter, then dimmed again. Dust slid from his wings in a dry curtain. "Your people blame the sun," he said. "They blame bad ground and old pipes. They do not know the dryness is a choice. The same system that feeds on me also drinks your sky. It eats your clouds before they grow. It pinches your wells so your colony stays weak and easy to control. Why would anyone want that?" Leah asked. Anger pushed through her fear. Why make a world like this on purpose? Long ago, the dragon said rulers far away wanted quiet worlds. Dry worlds are easy to count, easy to own. No wild rivers. No deep forests. No life they did not design. He looked down at the glowing bands wrapped around his legs. "I was their weapon," he added, "until I refused to be." Leah did not understand the full story, but she could hear the sorrow in his voice. It sounded old and heavy, like something that had been carried for a very long time. "If this place is hurting us," she said, "then it has to stop. Can we break it? Cut the chains? Turn it off?" "If it could be broken by force," the dragon said, "it would already be dust. Your miners above have shaken the ground. They brought drills and fire. They never touched the true lock. This prison is not only metal, it is a rule tied to what I am." Leah frowned. "What rule?" she asked. "That a weapon that turned on its masters must never drink again," he answered. "They chained my body. They cursed my thirst. As long as I stay bound and dry, this world stays bound and dry with me." The idea made Leah feel sick. "So if you die of thirst," she said slowly, "we die with you?" "Yes," he said simply. "You fade when I fade." The strange pull in Leah's chest grew stronger. Her fingers slid under her cloak and closed around the metal bottle. It felt much heavier than before. "There is a crack in their rule," the dragon said then. His eyes brightened a little. "A mistake." Leah took another step toward him without thinking. She could feel the heat of his breath on her skin, hot and dry like an oven. "What mistake?" she asked. The dragon lowered his great head until one huge eye was level with her face. Up close, Leah could see tiny lines around it, the marks of long thirst, like cracks in dry clay. "These chains feed on stolen water," he said softly. "On fear, on force, on orders. But there's one thing they were not built to hold." Paused. "A gift," he finished. Leah's grip around the bottle tightened, until the metal creaked. "Only water given freely by a human hand," the dragon said, "can break this cage." Under her cloak. The little bottle suddenly felt as hot and heavy as the burning desert sun. Under her cloak. The little bottle felt as hot and heavy as the burning desert sun. Leah did not move. Her fingers ached from holding it so tight. The dragon's words echoed inside her skull. "A gift," she said. "Only that can break your chains?" "Yes," the dragon replied in her mind. "Not payment, not fear. Water given because you choose to give. My jailers never believed anyone could do that." Leah's throat burned when she swallowed. "If I give you water," she asked, "what happens to you? And to us?" "Before you choose," the dragon said, "you must know who I was and why I am here." The blue lines in the floor brightened, then smoothed into a steady glow. The air felt even thinner. "I was not born in this cave," he said. "Once I flew through open skies, pictures slid into Leah's thoughts like simple, clear dreams. She saw a wide green world under her. Forests, covered hills. Broad rivers shone like silver snakes. A great shadow crossed them, wings spread from one horizon to the other. His scales in that memory were not dull and cracked. They were smooth, bright, and clean. Sunlight rolled along them in long blue and silver lines. His roar shook mountains, but there was joy in it, not pain. Long ago, the dragon said, there was an empire that feared wild things. They wanted every world quiet and owned. So they made weapons. I was their greatest one. The dream shifted. Black ships filled the sky. Their engines burned cold. Below them, cities broke. Seas rose in white steam. Wherever they pointed, He brought fire and crushing waves. I burned when they ordered, he said. I drowned when they pointed. I believed that was all I could be, a sharp tool in their hand. Another picture formed. A different world. Blue oceans. Thin white clouds. Small ships rose from its surface to face the dark fleet. Leah knew those shapes. Old school posters had shown them, calling them the first human jumpers. My masters laughed when they saw your kind, the dragon said. Small, new to the stars. Easy to break, they thought. So they sent me to make an example. He fell through the clouds like a star on fire. Human fighters met him, guns blazing. Their hits stung his armor, but did not stop him. They knew they could not win, he said. Still they flew, not to conquer. To give the people below more time to escape. Leah felt something press against the dragon's hard old heart. It was small, but it did not give way. One ship came closer than the rest, he said. Its hull was cracked. Its engines were failing. My masters shouted in my mind. End them, they said. Show the price of resistance. He showed her that ship. It flew straight toward his chest. At the last moment, its guns went silent. A channel opened. A single human voice spoke. The captain was named Mara, the dragon said softly. She did not beg me for her life. She begged me to stop hurting others. Aye could almost hear that voice. It was rough with smoke and fear, but steady, she said. The dragon went on. That if I wished to kill her, she would not run. Her one life was small. She asked me only to look at what I had done and decide whether I liked the shape of my shadow on the worlds below me. In his memory, the great dragon hung in the sky and did nothing. For the first time, he said, I disobeyed. He turned his fire away from the planet. He struck instead at the fleet that had sent him. Black ships broke apart in chains of light. I chose that world, he said. I chose humans. He landed in its sea. Cool water closed over his tired body. For a short time, he lived among the people he had saved. They were clumsy and fragile, he said. They argued with me. They laughed near me. They were not afraid to tell me when I was wrong. I began to believe I was more than a weapon. His eyes dimmed. But my old masters did not forget, he said. They watched. They waited. And when I slept, they came. Leah saw, through his thoughts, a ring of pale machines around his resting form. Cold beams pinned his wings. Chains grew from light and hardened into black metal around his neck and legs. They could not kill me, the dragon said. So they cursed my thirst. They tied me to a rule. No water I touch will ever reach my tongue. Every drop will be stolen and used to feed this prison. The words sank into Leah like stones. She imagined never drinking again, never feeling cool water on her tongue. The idea alone made her chest tighten with panic. And they chose this world, he went on, his voice low as my cage. The dream image shifted again. A bare planet under a sharp sun. Ships carved out this cave and fixed strange devices into its stone. They wrapped this place in the same hunger, he said. They bent the ground so its hidden water would flow toward this prison, not toward the surface where life needs it. Years flashed past. Storms tearing at the desert. Mining drills biting into rock. Camps that grew into metal streets. The chains hummed under every new building, quiet and constant. Your wells are weak because the ground itself is chained, the dragon said. Your sky holds almost no clouds because this system drinks them first. Each dry breath in your colony is another thread on these bands. Leah hugged her arms around her chest. The cave felt colder now, even with all its heat and humans. She asked quietly, Did you hate us for leaving? For forgetting you? No, he said. You left that first world. You spread to others. Stories faded, as they always do. But I remembered. A human once asked me who I wanted to be. That question has never left me. He studied her, small and shaking in the blue light. So when I felt a human mind cry out in this desert, he finished, I answered. I pulled at your dreams. I asked for one more chance. His gaze dropped toward the shape of the bottle under her cloak. I cannot break this curse alone, he said. I cannot taste a single drop. But you can choose to give or to walk away. Leah looked down at her hand. The bottle's metal edge cut into her skin. She could hear her own heartbeat in the dry silence. For a moment, everything was still. The cave waited, dry and silent, while distant engines whispered through the bones of the world below. Asterisk, the cave waited. Dead and dry, while a low rumble moved through the stone. Leah did not know what the sound meant, but the dragon did. His eyes turned upward, as if he could see through rock and sand all the way to the sky. They are coming, he said. Who? Leah asked. The drinkers, he answered. The ones who turn worlds into empty cups? Far above the cave, the pale sky over the colony split with fire. 3 black ships slid out of thin cloud, long and sharp like knives. Engines burned white at their tails as they slowed above the metal roofs. The air shook. Dust jumped from the ground. People ran into the streets, shading their eyes with rough hands. Tori stood in the ration yard with the other children. He had woken to find Leah gone and the family bottle missing. Worry already sat in his stomach like a stone. When the ships roared over his head, fear pushed worry aside. Look, one boy shouted. Off-worlders. The ships were too smooth, too clean, to belong to the dusty colony. A bright mark glowed on each side, a blue drop of water inside a hard silver ring. Water sign. Someone whispered, a company. Loudspeakers crackled across the settlement. Citizens, a cool voice said. Remain where you are. Visitors have arrived to assist with your water crisis. Assist? An old miner growled. No one helps for free. In the command dome, the council gathered around a table of old screens. The main display showed the 3 ships hanging over the central yard. Dust spun under them in slow rings. An image appeared on the wall, a clean human face with neat hair and a perfect dark uniform. The same blue drop badge shone on the chest. This is Director Hale of Core Water Corporation, the person said. The voice was calm and dry, like someone who never felt thirst. Our deep drills have found a strong water signal beneath your settlement. We can reach it. You cannot. Sign with us, and we will end your shortage. The council leader, a tired woman named Eris, folded her arms. At what price? She asked. Only a simple share, Hale replied with a small smile. We take what we need for our other clients. You receive enough to maintain your population. Your wells will never run fully dry. Eris's mouth tightened. Enough to keep us alive, she said, but never enough to grow. All stability is good, Hale answered. Chaos is bad. We give you stability. Some counselors stared at the falling lines on their cracked graphs. Others thought of thin children and coughing elders. No one liked the offer, but no one could ignore it. The pipes in the walls rattled with almost no sound of water at all. Let us discuss this in private, Eris said at last. The screen went dark. Down in the cave, the floor shook again under Leah's boots. Dust slipped from the high roof in thin streams. Is that you? She asked, staring at the chains. No, the dragon said. That is them. Their drills bite into the old scars of this ground. He closed his eyes. For a moment his mind reached out through the stone. He tasted new cuts in the dry rock, sharp tools humming closer and closer. They smell the water around this prison, he said. They think it waits for them like a full cup. They do not see that every path they open leads here. And this place will drink their share before yours. Leah's hands clenched at her sides. In her mind, she saw tall drills punching deep into the world. Pipes sucking the last wet breath from the planet, filling clean tanks on bright ships. She saw those ships rising into the safe dark, heavy with water. While the colony below coughed in dust, if they drill, will it make things worse? She asked. Yes, the dragon replied. The curse that binds me will drink faster. Your wells will die quicker. Your sky will crack. They will leave you with less than nothing. You can't do this, Leah said. Her voice shook with anger. They can, the dragon answered gently. They have on other worlds. To them, your home is just another dry stone in a long line. He lowered his head until one huge eye filled her vision. "This is why I called you," he said. "Your leaders will be offered a cruel choice: slow thirst with a little hope, or quick thirst with payment. They will think there is no other path, but you are here, at the true throat of the world." Laia felt small again, but not only from fear. She felt the weight of knowing something no one else on the surface knew. "What can I do?" she whispered. "Decide whether I rise," the dragon said. "Above, in the command dome." The council argued. "We cannot refuse," one man said. "Our children are already weak. If we lose even one more well, we will start digging graves for them. And if we accept," Aris asked, "then we become a tank on a pipe, a number on some far screen. They will never let us be more than useful." Another counselor looked at the empty graphs, then at his shaking hands. "Reports do not matter to me," he muttered. "Graves do." No one spoke for a long moment. The only sound was the thin hum of the life support fans. Back in the cave, the dragon's chains hummed, faint and tense. As if they also heard distant drills and distant voices. "They hurry," he said. "They feel the curse waking. They feared to lose what they were promised." Leah looked up at his vast, tired face, then down at the bottle under her cloak. If she freed him, he might stop them, or he might burn everything. Her heart hammered in the thin, dry air. "I need to know one thing," she said, lifting her eyes to his again. "If I give you this water and break your chains, will you save my people, or will you leave us to die while you fly away?" The dragon did not answer at once. His great eye watched her. The silence between them held its breath. Asterisk, the dragon did not answer at once. Leah heard only her fast breath and the soft fall of dust from the roof before his great eye finally closed, then opened again. "If I am free," he said, "my first wish will be to fly. My wings remember open sky. But I also remember the first humans I chose to spare," he said. "I remember the captain who asked what kind of shadow I wanted to cast. I chose her world once. I will choose your world now. If you give this water freely," he said, "then I give you my word. I will not abandon your people or drink this planet dry. I will stand between you and the drinkers above until they leave, or I fall." Leah searched his cracked, massive face. She saw no hunger in his eyes for their wells, only a deep, tired sadness. "What if you change your mind later?" she asked. "When you are strong again?" "Then the gift will break more than my chains," he replied. "If I betray a promise made over that drink, I will lose what I gain from it." Laia did not fully understand the rule, but she understood that he was binding himself. She drew in a slow breath. "My terms," she said, voice shaking, "are simple. You protect my colony. You protect my family. You fight the ships that want to steal what little we have. You do not hurt us." The dragon bowed his head as far as the chains would allow. "On the honor of the last dragon of the burning void," he said, "I accept." The air felt hotter. Sweat ran down Lie's neck and vanished. Her hands slid under her cloak and closed around the bottle. "This water is for my mother and my brother," she whispered. "For everyone in the line?" "Yes," the dragon said. "That is why it has power." Her thumb found the cap. For a moment she could not move it. It's held in place by the memory of her mother's dry lips and Tori's weak voice. "No one is coming to save us," she thought. "Not the council. Not the ships. Only this choice." She turned the cap. The cap clicked softly. A faint, cool smell rose from the bottle. The dragon's whole body shivered as the blue lines in the floor flared. "Careful," he said, and his thought voice shook. "A single drop will be enough." Laia stepped closer until she could touch the rough edge of his jaw. "Open," she whispered, as his jaws parted and dry heat rushed over her skin. His mouth was a cave of dull teeth, cracked flesh. Laia tipped the bottle. One clear drop slid to the lip, caught the blue glow, fell, and touched his tongue. Light exploded from the chains. White and blue lines raced along the bands and across the floor. The stone jumped under Leah's boots and threw her to one knee. Steam burst from the dragon's mouth as the drops sank into him like rain into dust. He roared with his true voice, shaking dust from the roof and sending cracks racing along the black bands. Cymbals shattered. One by one, the chains burst into pieces. Deep in the rock, old machines woke and failed, and water-locked in hidden chambers surged down new paths. On the surface, sensors and the core water drills began to scream. Lines jumped on Director Hale's clean screens. "Director," a worker called, "we're reading a huge surge under the colony. Pressure in every old channel. It's like something is pushing back." Hale stared at the numbers. The smooth face tightened. "Pause all drills," Hole said. "Charge weapons. I want to know exactly what is moving down there." In the cave, the glare slowly faded. The blue lines in the floor softened but stayed alive, and the air held a faint hint of wetness behind the dust. The dragon drew in a long breath. For the first time in 300 years, coolness touched his throat. His scales darkened to deep storm blue, and the broken rings lay scattered at his feet. Then he laughed, a low, rough sound that rolled through the stone. "You did it," he said, out loud. His voice filled the chamber. Leia pushed herself back to her feet. Her legs shook, but pride warmed her chest as she said, "I only gave a drink." "That is how worlds change," the dragon replied. "One choice, in one dry cave against a sky full of teeth." He unfolded his wings partway as dust and broken links slid from them. Above, drills fell silent and weapons charged in the ships. "Now," the dragon said, turning his gaze toward the unseen sky, "let us see what your gift can do." Far above, the black ships waited, not knowing the dry desert had changed. The dragon stood taller than he had in centuries, free of chains, eyes bright in the blue light of the cave. Dust still fell from the broken ceiling. Leia clung to the empty bottle and stared up at him. "Stay behind me, little human," he said. His deep voice filled the chamber. "What comes next is not safe." "You said you would not forget us," Leia answered. Her throat hurt, but she kept her chin up. "If you fight for my people, I want to help." He turned one huge claw so it lay flat like a wide platform. "Then ride," he said. "You know your colony? You know where lives are thin? Be my guide." Her legs trembled, but she thought of her mother on the narrow bed of Tori and the ration line of dry pipes and empty cups. Fear stayed. She moved anyway. Leia climbed onto his claw, then his shoulder, gripping rough scales with both hands. "Hold tight," the dragon warned. He crouched and jumped. The roof exploded in rock and dust as he drove upward. Old machines snapped like dry sticks. They burst out of the ground in a fountain of sand and broken stone. Hot wind slammed into Leia's face. She buried her cheek against his neck until the shock passed. When she looked again, the sky was open above them. The colony lay below, a cluster of dull metal at the desert's edge. 3 black ships hung over it, engines humming, guns already turning. Their hulls carried the blue water-drop symbol of core water. Sirens screamed across the settlement. People ran into the yards, pointing up. Tori stood frozen near the ration pump. Staring at the giant shape that had risen from the desert, the dragon spread his wings. They opened with a sound like tearing wind. New color flowed along them, deep blue and silver, catching the harsh sun. One slow beat sent waves of dust rolling away from the colony fence. High above, inside the flagship, Director Hale watched on a clear screen. "Identify that target," Hale said. "Living weapon," a worker answered. "Energy pattern matches banned Dragon-class records. Source is the same point as the surge under the surface." Hale's face stayed calm, but the fingers on the console tightened. "Bring it down," Hale said. "Full fire. Do not let it reach our drills." Cannons rotated. Pale beams lanced out and struck the dragon's chest and wings. Heat washed over Leia. She flinched. But the beams broke on his scales like light on glass. They left bright marks that faded at once. "They still use thin fire," the dragon said with rough pride. "I have learned harder lessons." Leia pointed down with one hand. "Do not let them hit the lower levels," she shouted. "The clinic, the tanks, the old school live. Those fall. Many will die." He rolled his body, putting himself between the ships and the metal streets. More beams rained down, but they struck his side instead of the roofs below. Now that the curse was broken, he could feel the hidden water in the planet. Thin veins under stone, trapped pools, seams of old ice. He reached downward with a sense older than human words. Tugging far out over the desert, thin clouds began to gather. The second ship dived, trying to slip past his wings toward the colony. The dragon snapped his tail up. It hit the ship's nose with a heavy crack. Metal screamed. The craft spun away and crashed into empty rock, sliding in a long trail of dust. On the ground, people screamed and cheered at once. Tori did neither. He squinted at the dragon's neck and saw a tiny shape holding on there. Leah, they breathed. In the command dome, Eris watched the same scene on an old, flickering screen. Rain, thin at first, began to draw pale lines across the image. Clouds, a counselor whispered. "Here. Maybe we were not born on a dead world," Eris said softly. "Maybe it was strangled." On the flagship, alarms flared. "Shields failing," a worker cried. "Moisture in the intakes. We are not rated for this atmosphere. Keep firing," Hale snapped. But the beams were already flickering. The dragon pulled harder on the buried water. Clouds above thickened and spread. The air cooled around Leah's face. The first heavy drops fell, hissing into steam on his hot scales. Then the steam became mist. The mist became fast, cold rain. It poured over the colony, over roofs and courtyards and long dry ground. Water splashed into open hands and empty tanks. Children laughed and shouted, mouths open to catch the drops. Old men sank to their knees and let it run down their faces. In the sky, wet air crawled into seams and vents. Weapons flickered out. The third ship wobbled and climbed, engines whining. The dragon folded his wings close around Leah and rose higher through the storm. Then he turned and dived at the flagship. At the last moment, he twisted and dragged one great claw along its side. Guns crumpled. Panels tore free and spun into the clouds. He did not tear the core. He did not make it fall. Instead, he shoved the damaged ship upward with his shoulder and tail. Pushing it away from the colony, his voice rolled across the rain and into every open channel. "This world is under human guard," he said, "and I guard the humans." Inside the flagship, water dripped from the ceiling onto Hale's boots. Broken numbers slid across dying screens. For one long breath, no one spoke. "Director," a worker asked. Hale stared at the wet floor, at the rising storm, at the huge shape between the colony and the guns. "Retreat," Hale said at last. "Mark this system closed. There is nothing here we can own." The ships turned and vanished into the clouds. Silence slowly settled over the colony. Broken only by the steady fall of rain, the dragon glided down and landed on a flat ridge beyond the outer fence. Ground shook gently under his weight. Mud splashed under his claws. Leah slid down his shoulder and dropped into shallow water. Tori ran to her and grabbed her around the middle. She hugged him back, shaking with tired laughter. Eris and the other leaders walked out to the fence. Coats soaked, hair dripping. "Are you our enemy?" Eris called up. The dragon lowered his head until one eye was level with them. "I was a weapon on other days," he said. "On other worlds, here I am, Unabor." He turned his gaze to Leah. "She gave me one drink," he said. "I will spend the rest of my long life paying it back." Days passed. New wells began to swell with clear water as the ground slowly forgot its chains. The sky did not stay full, but clouds came and went like breath. Far away. Travelers talked about a dry world where a child gave a dragon water, and a dragon made it rain. Some laughed. Some did not. On that small planet, under a new sky. Leah stood with her family at the fence and watched the dragon resting on his ridge. It was like a living mountain. She held the empty bottle in her hand and knew one thing for sure. Sometimes the strongest power in the universe is a human who refuses to stay thirsty for hope.